It feels so good to say it, but the Calgary Flames are back.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jessica Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today, we are going to be talking about the first day of training camp, the two groups, main NHL or fringe player groups, as well as Zayne Parekh getting very honest with the media, as well as some questions about the goaltending tandem that we may see this year. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's jump right into this because it felt so nice seeing all of the media members tweet their pictures from the Saddledome being like, back at it, or, here's to the season, back in the office. It felt great. And what a way to wrap up the week. It's Thursday with camp kicking off. You have the Michael Backlund extension, and we have some clarity on the plan or the potential of bringing back former Flame Dylan Dubé. Craig Conroy spoke with the media Wednesday night and just kind of clarified where they stood on that and basically said he needs they've talked and it's a fresh start is in the cards if that's the route he so chooses to take. If an NHL team is interested in signing him. So he will not be returning to Calgary as a Flame. So that feels good to kind of get that out of the way. I know that a lot of teams have been asked about it, and in terms of, Carter Hart or Michael McLeod, but it makes sense why the Flames are asked about Dylan Dubé, and I guess Toronto is potentially interested, which would be quite an interesting addition. And I'm not really sure what he would provide over what they already have, but I digress. This season feels like a fresh start, but at the same time, it feels like a continuation of last season. I feel like the Flames have so much to build off of from last year. They missed the playoffs, yes, but towards the end of the season there, they really found their footing. Too little, too late, I know. And just the fact that they were down in one of the last home games, again, it was the last home game of the season. It was against Vegas. And the Flames were down 3-0 in the first period. And then they came back and won the game. Like, they are relentless. They are resilient. And I have a good feeling about this season. Whether or not they make the playoffs or not, I don't know. Last season, I was confident they were not making the playoffs. This year, we're just along for the ride. But let's talk about the first group that hit the ice today. And that is, of course, the predominantly NHL group. So your top line is Huberdeau, Kadri, and Coronado, followed by Zary, Backlund, and Coleman. Honzek, Kirkland, and Stromgren on the third line, and your fourth line being Siona, Morton, and Suniev. Okay, let's not overreact or anything there. We've still got a little bit more to go. And your defensive pairings are Hanley and Weegar, Bean and Parekh, Cechek and Brustewicz, and Dustin Wolf and Devin Cooley as your goaltenders. I really am interested to see what their plan is with the defense because we know there is an impending trade. We are aware. We know that that's going to happen. So where exactly does Zayne Parekh fit in this? because I'm honestly not too worried about Hunter Brustewich because he can just go back to the AHL. Like, that's not a problem. He's AHL eligible. However, Parekh is not. So I think realistically, it's going to be Bean and Parekh kind of rotating. But quite frankly, I don't see a world where Bean has more upside, to be quite honest. So that's your first group, mainly NHLers, solid group of guys right there. And I'm looking forward to seeing how things turn out and how things kind of even out and shake out as camp continues. So group 2 is more AHLers as well as NHLers with some AHLers. And you have Farabee, Frost, Sharon Govich on your top line, followed by Lomberg, Pospisil, and Klapka. Interesting playing Pospisil at center, but having Zary on a wing. But I digress. Hunt, Kearns, and Gridden is your third, and your fourth line is Basha, Bishop, and Ferk. Okay, that's an AHL line. Although Basha is not eligible for the AHL this season. Your defensive groups, you've got Ball and Anderson back like they never left, Kuznetsov and Pahal, and solo with Miramonov. Your goaltenders are Prosvetov with Say. I truly feel like the Flames just need to waive Miramonov. I think that just, it has to go that way because there are far too many defensemen as well as extra defensemen for the Flames if they plan on truly integrating Zayne Parekh this season. And it's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, you can go play in the AHL if you clear waivers. So I also think that Kuznetsov and Solo are two players that are going to also get the short end of the stick this season in terms of call-ups. We kind of saw it last year. They eventually got playing time, but it wasn't, I don't think, what maybe was expected or intended. And coming up next, we're going to talk about Zayne Parekh because this young gentleman is quite honest, and he has, I would say he has it all figured out, but honestly, no one has it all figured out. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is here to make sure that you're ready for kickoff with a cannot miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it is easy, super easy to navigate, easy to use. And of course, you get your easy deposits and withdrawals. And it just makes a Sunday more fun with a same game parlay or even jumping in as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And it still feels so good to say that. I love that we are back in season, that hockey's here, the leaves are changing, and it is starting to feel like fall. And I think what a lot of us have been anticipating this season is, of course, Zayne Parekh. Zayne Parekh had an incredible season in the OHL last year, and he does not need to go back, in my honest opinion. I think that if there's a player that should be on this roster, it should be him. He has worked very hard to deal with an injury over the summer, but also just the consistent his consistency is incredible, and it's something that we should all look forward to hopefully transitioning to his pro game. But he met with the media. He was asked about, what he's feeling, what's his mentality going into all this, and he just knows that he's hungry and he's ready to take a job. He wants to be in the NHL this year, and quite frankly, I don't think there's a reason why he should be anywhere but the NHL. He loves this is my favorite part. He loves seeing people wear his jersey, but he's still debating on what to do with his number. He has always worn number 19, and I don't know if you guys remember the last player to wear number 19, but his name is Matthew Tkachuk. So, those are someone has to wear that number eventually, right? Someone has to wear it. And quite frankly, I would love to see it be Zayne Parekh. Number one, because it's been his number. 89 is a cool number and everything, but I do think 19 is just, it's a little more crisp. I think that that's him. That's what he's played with. And those 89 jerseys will be vintage before you know it. I truly enjoy what Parekh brings to the lineup to the locker room, because the Flames have needed some sort of boost, some sort of tangible evidence that their rebuild is moving along or it's going in the right direction, that their prospect pool is going to be, fully stocked and restocked. And I think that Parekh is like the first piece of that. He was drafted 9th overall 2 years ago, and it's been a lot. Like, a lot has happened for the Flames organization in between the time he was drafted and the start of camp. So he had a record-breaking season in the OHL. He made the list of, he's the only defenseman to have back-to-back 30-goal seasons since Bobby Orr. He just crushed every record that you could think of. The fact that he is not eligible to go to the AHL this year is an absolute bummer. And the rule for 19-year-olds being eligible, so from the age to go from 20 to 19, naturally takes effect next year, when it doesn't really matter for Parekh because he'll be 20 already. But I just want to see good things happen for him. I think that there's a lot of pressure on him, I would say, from fans, because obviously, like, you want your 9th overall pick to be that guy. And just based on his history and his resume, he could be. But Conroy talked to the media as well and just kind of said, like, this kid cannot have the weight of the world on his shoulders. He knows, him and Conroy have talked, and it's just about going into camp and getting a job. And I think that that's how you kind of you're going to have to take this season as well. I don't think that, in my opinion, it's going to be a game-by-game basis for all of these players, because right now the Flames are in this transitional period once again, or still, depending on how you look at it. And they're looking to trade Rasmus Andersson. They're looking to move Parekh into the lineup. But there are other players and pieces that have to be moved along the way for that to happen. There's a lot of moving parts, and it can change on a day-to-day basis. Just like we kind of saw last year with the defense. Okay, Miramonov played like 5 games straight and then sat basically the rest of the season. And I wouldn't be shocked if we did see Andersson move down to the second pairing. Like, if we saw Ball and Weegar as your top pairing, and maybe Hanley and Andersson, depending on what things look like. Because quite frankly, I don't think that they're trading Rasmus Andersson before American Thanksgiving, unless something very good comes along, because number one, he has to put value back into his game, and Craig Conroy has to get his hands on an offer that is basically irresistible. 85% of the teams in playoff position by American Thanksgiving make the playoffs. So by that third week in November, fourth week in November, you know where you're at. And it's important for the Flames to not get so caught up in the day-to-day, or sorry, the big picture. You have to take it day by day, piece by piece, because you're going to get lost and you're going to get overwhelmed, especially with the amount of players that you're trying to integrate to your roster. And hopefully the trade deadline, I'm talking about taking it day by day, and here I am jumping to November and then jumping to March, but the Flames may have some moving around to do at the deadline. It is a very good possibility, but that's only if Andersson has not been traded. But even then, could you maybe entertain the idea of Blake Coleman going somewhere? Or maybe Ryan Lomberg? Who knows? But coming up next, we're going to talk about just some overall thoughts on the goaltending situation, along with what the preseason kind of lays out for the Flames. Coming up next here on Locked On Flames. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money right on the table. And that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your phone or your laptop. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you're putting off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does all of the heavy lifting, and you can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. That's my favorite part. I think it's important to obviously be economically conscious when you're spending your money, because I know personally I have cut back on spending money on takeout since seeing what I spent and what I could have allocated elsewhere to my poor planning abilities when it comes to making lunches for work. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Thanks everyone for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. One of the many questions, I guess really not many, I think that there's really just a few questions this year, thankfully, is of course, who is going to be backing up Dustin Wolf? Because you have Devin Cooley, who played for the Wranglers last season. And, of course, you signed Ivan Prosvetov, who was over in Russia, and then prior to that played with the Colorado Avalanche. And then you have Owen Say, who is going to be part of your AHL tandem. All three solid goaltenders. I think that it is an open job. It is not a situation like last season where we knew Dan Vladar wasn't going to be placed on waivers. It was going to be Devin Cooley that got sent down. And yes, a year and a half later, I am still calling him Logan Cooley by accident. I think with Cooley having more time in the organization, like that may play to his benefit just because he knows the team that's in front of him a little bit better, and really kind of bodes well for him because he has, I wouldn't even call it tenure, maybe seniority. He has been with the Flames longer than Prosvetov. So I'm curious to see where things shake out there, and if, how does the battle go? Because it could be either one of them. And I'm so intrigued to see how these decisions are made. And not only that, but how they pan out. Because I feel like, I've said it a lot this offseason, but the first 9 games of the season are huge games. You're playing against all playoff contending teams. You are not a playoff contending team necessarily. Actually, you're not. And this team does not have a shot at winning the cup this year. I would love to eat my words come June, but I think that's just out of the picture this season. So the Flames just they have to find their footing. They have to come out of the gate very similar to how they did last year. They went 5-0-1, I think, through the first 6 games, but they went 5-0 through the first 5. So that's huge. I think that you're hoping for another season of 20 plus goals for Jonathan Huberdeau. You're hoping that Matt Coronado hits 30 this year. You're hoping Kadri is floating around the same mark as last year. If not, just, sniffing the 30s. You're also hoping that your players stay healthy. Justin Kirkland is coming back from an ACL injury that he suffered early on in the season. And let's see, you have Connor Zary, who dealt with several injuries last year. Backlund, I get it. They just extended him, but he's 36 years old and dealt with a few injuries last season that could be lingering or could be re-aggravated. So you got to kind of keep yourself on your toes there and expect the unexpected. And of course, the elephant in the room that I don't think anyone really wants to talk about is the potential of a sophomore slump for Dustin Wolf or Matt Coronado. Do I want to see that? Absolutely not. Do I expect it, even if it's just a little bit? Of course. It is natural. It happens. I'm hoping that it is a bounce back season for Martin Pospisil. I want to see some good stuff from him. I want to see Adam Klapka. I don't think that he's I think he's more of a middle 6 player than he is a bottom 6. And right now the Flames have more than enough middle 6 players. So are they going to put him back on the top line? Or are they going to make some shifts, make some adjustments? Because truly anything can happen with the Flames. And you're kind of hoping that someone calls and offers you like a 6th round draft pick for like Jake Bean and Miramonov. Come the trade deadline, maybe you're interested in trading Joel Hanley this time around. It's still so dumb that they didn't do that last year, but whatever. Maybe there's a better reason for it than I can think of, but that will do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a fantastic evening and rest of your week. I will be back tomorrow to talk about any updates from camp, as well as trade rumors and hopefully some more good news. Bye-bye.